impoverished model of the world. Our ability to manipulate symbols, that is, to create models. So the processes which allow us to accomplish the most extraordinary and unique human activities are the same processes which block our further growth if we commit the error of mistaking the model of the world for reality. We can identify three general mechanisms by which we do this: generalization, deletion, and distortion. Generalization is the process by which elements or pieces of a person's model become detached from their original experience and come to represent the entire category of which the experience is an example. Our ability to generalize is essential to coping with the world. The same process of generalization may lead a human being to establish a rule such as, don't express any feelings. Deletion is a process by which we selectively pay attention to certain dimensions of our experience and exclude others. Take, for example, the ability that people have to filter out or exclude all other sound in a room full of people talking in order to listen to one particular person's voice. Deletion reduces the world to proportions which we feel capable of handling. The reduction may be useful in some contexts and yet be the source of pain for others. Distortion is the process which allows us to make shifts in our experience of sensory data. Fantasy, for example, allows us to prepare for experiences which we may have before they occur. It is the process which has made possible all the artistic creations which we as human beings have produced. Similarly, all the great novels, all the revolutionary discoveries of the sciences involve the ability to distort and misrepresent present reality. Grinder and Bandler are suggesting that some information is necessarily lost or distorted in the transformation from deep structure to surface structure. In language, these processes occur during the translation of deep structure, the mental images, sounds, feelings, and other sensory representations that are stored in our nervous systems, to surface structure, the words, signs, and symbols we choose to describe or represent our primary sensory experience. This is another way of saying that the models we make of the world around us with our brains and our language are not the world itself, but the representations of it. Many important clues about the deep structure, however, are expressed and reflected in the verbal surface structure. The meta-model was developed by Bandler and Grinder as a means to work with the surface structure of language in order to help a person to enrich their model of the world by recovering their deeper structure and reconnecting with their primary experience. NLP has widened the use of the notions of deep structure and surface structure to include more than linguistic processes and representations. NLP considers deep structure to be composed of sensory and emotional experiences, or primary experience. NLP views language as secondary experience, that is, a part of our model of the world that is derived from our primary experience. Symbols, movements, songs, facial expressions, and other aspects of our behavior However, are also forms of surface structures, which we use to express our deeper structure, and are also subject to various forms of deletion, distortion, and generalization. Turn the page. Deep structure. Ideas, emotions, values, and identity undergo deletion, distortion, generalization to put themselves across as physical, verbal, and other concrete expressions such as movements, words, pictures, and that leads to surface structures. Those are surface structures, forgive me. Deep structures reach the surface as a result of a series of transformations which act as filters on our primary experience. As an example of the relationship between deep structure and surface structures, most of us learn to write using our right or left hand. Yet, once we have learned this skill with our hand, it can be immediately transferred to other parts of our body. For instance, we can probably all write a reasonable facsimile of our names, never saw that word before, of our names in the sand with our left big toe, or make letters by holding a pencil in our mouth, subject or course to a certain amount of distortion, end bracket. Even though the physical structure of these parts of our bodies are completely different. The deep structure related to the form of the letters is not tied to any particular part of the body. It can be generalized to many surface structures. Thus, different surface structures may also be reflections of common deep structures. Another important implication of the principles of transformational grammar is that there are multiple levels of successively deeper structures in the structure and organization of systems. An important consequence of this is that all levels of a system structure should be addressed in order to achieve ecological change. The NLP notion of logical levels (DILT, 1990, 1991, 1993, 1995, and 1996) is another way to organize the relationship between surface structure and deeper structures. Each of the levels environment, behavior, capabilities, beliefs, values, and identity are considered to be successively deeper structures than the levels below them. Our perceptions and interactions with the environment are the part of our experience that is the closest to the surface. End quote. Coordinating and managing behavior requires the mobilization of deeper structures in our neurology. Our capabilities organize and coordinate our behaviors involving less concrete but deeper processes. Beliefs and values are the underpinnings of our capabilities and behaviors. They are more difficult to express clearly and specifically at the surface, but they influence us at the deepest level. Identity is a very deep set of relationships that can best be described as a function, analogous to the equations used to create a mathematical fractal. Similar to Chomsky's ideas about language, the deep structure of our identity reaches the surface through a series of transformations, which move through values, beliefs, capabilities, and finally behavioral actions in the world. These transformations are also subject to deletion, generalization, and distortion. These deletions, generalizations, and distortions are the focus of the various techniques and models of NLP. One of the goals of NLP is to identify problematic generalizations, deletions, or distortions through the analysis of the syntax or form of the surface structure, and provide a system of tools so that a more enriched representation of the deep structure may be attained. Another goal of NLP, represented by the modeling process, is to be able to create better links and pathways between surface structures and deep structures. Turn page. Switch power poses too. I'll switch power poses after this page. The epistemology of NLP. Epistemology is the discipline which systematically explores the structures and processes which underlie human knowledge. The term epistemology comes from the Greek words epi, meaning above or upon, histanai, meaning to set or place, and logos, meaning word or reason, i.e., that upon which we set our reasoning. An epistemology, then, is